Hi, my name is Quentin Walston. Welcome to another jazz video. Today we're talking about playing jazz, how to develop as a jazz player. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced musician, there's always more we can do to grow in this genre. So we're going to look at three main things. We're going to look at expanding our jazz language and the various ways to do that. We're going to look at how helpful it is to learn standards and tunes to expand our repertoire. And lastly, we're going to look at how theory can really help us as a jazz musician as well. So let's dive in. So let's look at how to develop our jazz language. That is, to develop the elements of a jazz vocabulary. Now you can practice very specific devices which would be very helpful, such as chord outlines, arpeggios, enclosures, blues licks. These are all techniques that jazz musicians use in their improvisation. Now if you're a piano player or a guitarist, you would want to practice your chords, different inversions of them. There's more on this on our chords video. And then bass players would practice walking bass lines. Drummers have all of their rudiments to practice. What's important is that this technique, these technical exercises, are specifically applied to jazz. We're learning jazz vocabulary. Now, this all serves so that we can play the ideas that we think of. Because jazz is so improv heavy, we want to be able to play in a snap exactly the idea that's in our mind. Now, a great way to see these technical aspects in action is by looking at jazz musicians' solos. I would recommend to transcribe your favorite solos by your favorite jazz artists. And if you're a beginner, try figuring out some basic licks that jazz musicians play and incorporate those into your playing. This is a great way to see those devices that we practice used. Now, as you're practicing and working on your technique and your language, it's important to say, apply what you're learning. Try using these new devices in an improvised solo. And what better way to do that than to try them over jazz standards? Now let's look at learning tunes, learning standards, learning the jazz repertoire. This is so important. It teaches us beautiful melodies. It teaches us how to improvise all these chord structures. And how else do you play jazz than to play jazz songs? Now, how do we start? I would say learn the melody. That's a great place to become familiar with the composition. And that goes to any instrument. Even if you're a bass player, piano player, a saxophone player, trumpet player, even a drummer should know what the melody of the song is. After that, you would want to learn the chords, learn the chord progression. You don't have to be a chord instrument to need to know the chord progression. When we improvise, we actually improvise according to the chords. So that means learn your chords, learn what they are, the order of them, so that best prepares you for improvisation. And the great thing about the jazz repertoire is there are so many songs. Whatever it really appeals to you, whether it's bebop or Great American Songbook or modal jazz, there are so many songs that are out there that you can enjoy learning how to play. So go for it. Find some recordings that you really like. Learn from the recording. Try to match their phrasing and just enjoy expanding as a jazz musician through the learning of the repertoire. Now, the last thing we're going to look at is music theory. We might be thinking, no, not music theory. I thought jazz was the last place that music theory would be. I thought it was just playing all the cool notes and all the bed notes and being bluesy and stuff like that. Now, part of that may be true. We do get to improvise. We do get to make notes up on the spot. But having a strong sense of musical theory is going to really help us play the music. It's going to guide our note choices. So many jazz masters were great at music theory. John Coltrane, Michael Brecker, Bill Evans. These were all masters that knew the inside workings of the music, and that helped lift up their abilities. So, if you don't have any idea of music theory, that's okay. Start with the basics. Start with understanding how a scale is constructed, or what a major key is, or why a major chord is different than a minor chord. And if you already have this, take a step further. Start looking at rules of chord progressions. Why do 5 chords like to go to 1 chord? What is a leading tone? What is a guide tone in a jazz chord? And we can go further and further by looking at how scales work well with different chords in jazz, and why do different scales have a different effect when we improvise. So I would recommend dive into music theory, and I think you'll see that there is a window that's opened, and it actually was going to help you play better jazz because you're going to have new sounds and new ideas at your disposal when you're going to create the music. So I hope that these elements help you as a jazz player, and you can attack them from any angle. You can go out and practice some technique. You can go out and learn some tunes. You can go out and learn some music theory at any order, at any degree. I think all of these are great ways to expand your ability as a jazz musician. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned a lot. Please check out our other videos. We got stuff on jazz standards, on soloing, all sorts of cool stuff. So thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.